Good evening, everyone. I'm Magiabella, and I was going to do the video part 2 of why I'm a pantheist. This time round, I'm going to be talking about the archetypes and how to use them, but if you haven't seen part 1, I'll link the video in the down bar with this one so that it's easier to see part 1 and 2 and 3 if I do a third and a fourth one. And then I'll actually combine it into a playlist once I'm done. Pantheism is a method of archetypes, and it relates to psychology. Archetypes also relate to astrology, and when you're talking about pantheism, where it's the multiple gods, whether you use a single pantheon such as the Greek pantheon, or if you use a mixed pantheon, it's, in my opinion, it is perfectly acceptable because the archetypes line up across the board culturally. So you can have Greek, Roman, Egyptian, you can have the shamanistic ones of Native Americans, but what you'll find is that there are commonalities amongst the god and goddesses that kind of link up to the same type energy. There might be a tad bit different in the archetypal story that goes along with them, but for the most part, because they are archetypes, and what an archetype means is that they are pre-existing patterns of emotions, behaviors, perceptions, and responses common to all of humanity. And that's why you get gods and goddesses that tend to line up across the board depending on where you are in the world. There is a god or a goddess that generally exemplifies the certain energies that one would find in a different culture. Men and women experience these archetypes as God images, and when I use the term God image, I don't mean just a god, I mean God and goddesses, and also the gods that would be a complete archetype, which has both the masculine and the feminine wrapped up into one. Because of these incredible power that are in these archetypes and the consuming nature of these persistent shapers of the human experience, that is why they are widespread through multicultural systems. Archetypes always come with a story. And the story of that God image relates to the archetypal drama that plays out with that energy. God images come with that story that is going to entail there's going to be lead actors and actresses, there's supporting characters, stage props and scenes, and the drama can sometimes be even a comedy. They're themed, they're plotted, they have subplots, they have climaxes, and so on. So when you're working with these archetypal energies, it is good to understand the story or the myth that precedes or encompasses that particular archetype. These stories we're going to call that's the ones that we call myths. And as we integrate these gods into our lives, we create our own personal myth and our personal it's our own personal myth and a collective myth at the same time. The bigger picture is always in the collective consciousness, but it may be tweaked as it is applied to your personal life. And as you use that to apply to your personal life, that will become your personal myth. And these personal myths will merge with the collective myth, and then they separate, and then they merge again. It's always a coming together, and then a separation, and then a coming together. And this is how we grow our psychologies and our personalities, and how we tend to become better as we go along. This is the role of the particular god and goddess in your running through your life, whether you have a patron or a matron, or you have you just go with which one you need to work with at that time. If you have a god or goddess that is that archetype is actually working through your life, or is actually structured into your own psychic makeup. And that tends to be the difference between working with one that you need because this is the energy of the issues you're working through right now, and so that's the particular god or goddess that's working most prevalent in your life. Or if you have a personality that is basic structured into the theme of that archetype, and then that would be more of your matron or patron deity. If you have these one or the other running through your life, then the question becomes to ask yourself certain questions about it's you overlay the story basically, and then if this god or goddess shows up into your life and you overlay their story into your own, the questions become, who are the characters and the drama, the plot, the everything that it's trying to tell you, help you, work with you. If a particular god or goddess is the one that is been chosen for the task, then it's got something to do with their story and how they work and the energy tides that run through that particular story. So the beginnings of shadow work could actually be trying to identify why this god or goddess showed up at a particular time, or why this god and goddess has walked with you from the time of birth on. What is it that their story can do to help your growth and make you better? So it is basically, who are the actors in the drama? That means, who are the participants in your life that fill the needs of the particular characters in the drama that your archetype is playing out. There will be people that act as these different catalysts in your life. Who are you particularly identifying with in the story? Is it the god or the goddess, or is it one of the other sub-characters that are playing in this drama that becomes more the theme running through your life at that moment? And then it's when and how and what for. Why, what is the purpose of this god and goddess being present in this now time for you? Who or what fills the role of the adversary? Because all these archetypes generally have an adversary that is something that they have to, an obstacle that they have to overcome, or basically how they dealt with a particular issue in their life. This can be used, like I said, as a particular form of shadow work, to where if you don't have a particular issue running through your life that a lot of people ask, well, what is shadow work and how do you do it? Well, this is one way you can do it. If you know a particular god or goddess is running through your life, then you can find out why. Why is this one the one that's present? Why is this one the one that was sent to work with you? Why is this the energy? Did you personally call these gods or goddesses yourself, or did they choose you? If they chose you, there was a reason why. They identified with your energy at the time, and they are showing up in your life. But why? Why and shadow work are pretty closely connected in a lot of ways. Because the why is the question that needs to be resolved. They're there to help you work through something. And if they're there to help you work through something, that something generally relates to their story and how they overcame whatever it was, or how they dealt with the situation. Or it is a particular adversary to that person that is coming into play, and they're there to make you strong to face the adversary. So you have to find out why these things come in, and this is a work oftentimes of shadow work. You're working with a particular god or goddess, and you're working through some issues that have appeared in your life or are running themes in your life that you are sent here to deal with and to address and to hopefully overcome and become better. So, working as a pantheist, you're working on yourself through these major archetypes. And this is a form of self-development. It's a form of shadow work, but it's also even a form of your personal magic and how it actually plays out as well. God images are very specific archetypes. They may include many different archetypal situations. And because they do that, there's generally a theme in there of something to do with abandonment, sacrifice, or descent. Descent in the underworld, which is a descent into your deep inner world and into your shadow side of yourself, or there can be other themes, but every single one of them generally has one of those three or all three running through the theme of their archetypal drama. Archetypes may include multiple facets of archetypal energies. Thus, they are very complex and can be universal for this reason. As we work with our chosen God images, we are working out many archetypal themes running through our individual lives. The purpose is to grasp the complexity of our own psyches and the emotions and how they interact with the world and influence our own particular lives. The idea of the universe as a macrocosm and man as the microcosm is reflective, again, of the nature and structure of the whole. This is a Greek a Greek idea. It came up first in the Greek philosophies and is very largely a Stoic one, but it boils down to the theme of as above, as below. And these archetypal dramas can be seen as the universal themes of energy running through. And now how you play it into the microcosm, which is your individual life. So this is the work of a pantheist. It is how these gods relate to you, or calling on certain gods that you recognize the themes running through your own life, and so therefore you call on a particular god or goddess to help you walk through or work through a particular issue that has come up in your life. And this is, again, why I'm a pantheist. I do believe in working through the psychological issues. I do work with astrology as well. And astrology, again, has its own archetypal themes running through it, and each planet generally represents a god. And those gods still, again, there's a reason why Jupiter was Jupiter in the theme of it. You play these different gods and goddesses out, how they relate to also the planetary energies, and that is another layer of energy that you can add to your spell work or to add to your personal work, because when Jupiter is fixing to be directly opposed to Neptune, now that means Neptune being in Pisces, its home area, and it is the god of water, the emotions, the sea. It's going to play out with the shadowy illusions of emotion, of blurring reality, making things very nebulous. It's very the spiritual side of things. Something that you have to go by intuition versus the cold hard facts of Saturn and hard work. Neptune is a different kind of energy. Well, when Jupiter starts to go into full opposition, and the energy is already increasing right now because Jupiter was at 2 degrees Virgo, and Virgo being the opposite sign of Pisces means that the opposition is already closing in, and it is expanding the energy of Neptune and Pisces right now. That means that there's going to be a lot more confusion and murkiness in people's lives right now. And Neptune calls for you to go within and look at the things that must be taken on faith versus fact. And it is to do with the other side, people passing. So it's very apropos that it happens right now as we're just starting into the dark half of the year. So this starts setting the ball into motion. The sun will be going into Virgo in just a little while, and when it goes into Virgo as well, Virgo is also the station of I analyze. So it again is very apropos that I analyze my internal structures or my spiritual beliefs or my dreams, all the things that Neptune represents, all the things that Pisces represents. But Virgo, having the sun there, means that I analyze myself in that aspect. So it's a turning inward, just like the back half of the year is. It's a turning inward when everything starts slowing down. The plants start dying off and everything goes back into Mother Earth until she's ready to be pregnant with it again and bust it forth again in new life in springtime. So in these shadow times that we're starting to go into, it is very apropos to start looking at our deities that we have chosen, or who more importantly have chosen us, and find out why. What is the reason? What is it that they need to teach us? What is it that we need to learn? And sometimes if we look at it more upon taking their actual story and overlaying it on top of our own story, we start to see the patterns emerge more easily because we've taken the time to reflect upon it. So I hope that helps. It's sort of a good way to get started on shadow work if you don't have a particular subject of shadow work, or you are new to shadow work and you really just don't understand what people are talking about when they say doing your shadow work. This is a particularly good place to start if you particularly have gods and goddesses running through your life. It's also a good way to try to figure out what god and goddess may be there that you haven't recognized, because the theme of your own story will start to overlay into the theme of a god or goddess's story as well too. And at that point you can start seeing which god or goddess that you need to be working with to work you through these situations in your life. So I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that explains a little bit more about how deep you can go with pantheism, and why I don't believe in a single god. I believe in multiple. And that's all. So y'all have a great evening and blessings.